Well, today we're going to be talking about monks. Way of the Ascendant Dragon to be exact. Let's begin. Way of the Ascendant Dragon is a subclass first seen in Unearthed Arcana and stayed there for quite some time. However, it's finally making its debut in Fizban Treasury of Dragons as the newest subclass for the monk. Its abilities, while a little bit scattered, are great for those of a roleplay playstyle or even a combat playstyle who are looking to play a monk. So, let's go over their abilities. Oh, but before we begin, please like and subscribe if you're enjoying my content, as we are a new YouTube channel, and just simply hitting a button means a huge deal for making our videos go that much further. So, let's get into what you actually want to hear. The first ability Way of the Ascendant Dragon gets is Draconic Disciple, which states that at 3rd level, the Draconic Disciple gives you Draconic Strike. When you deal damage with an unarmed strike, you can change the damage to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison, as well as Tongue of Dragons. You can speak, read, and write Draconic or one other language of your choice, and if you fail a Charisma and Intimidation check or Charisma Persuasion check, you can use your reaction to re-roll the check. You can do this until you successfully pass a check using this skill, and this ability resets when you take a long rest. Draconic Strike seems great. Having the ability to switch your damage types is incredibly useful when dealing with resistances, vulnerabilities, or anything like that. However, out of 445 monsters, only 10 of them have resistance to bludgeoning magical damage, while 5 of them have vulnerability to bludgeoning damage, meaning this ability is only going to come up in uses about 2% of the time for overcoming bludgeoning resistance. Still useful for overcoming resistances, but more likely you're going to use that for vulnerabilities, which come up about once or twice every 5 to 10 levels. As for Tongue of Dragons, it's a good ability by itself, but learning Draconic is not going to come in handy in a lot of situations, so this is more of a flavor win than anything. But what makes this a good ability is the fact that when you fail a Charisma Persuasion check or Intimidation check, you can now re-roll. To put this in numbers, on average, you are going to succeed your Persuasion or Intimidation checks by an additional 22% of the time, making this great for roleplay playstyles. But that is not all that the Way of the Ascendant Dragon gets at level 3. They also get Breath of the Dragon, which states, at 3rd level, when you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of the attacks with an exhalation of Draconic energy in either a 20-foot cone or a 30-foot line that is 5 feet wide, your choice. Choose a damage type: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Each creature in the area must make a dexterity saving throw against your key save DC, taking damage of the chosen type equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die on a failure, or half as much damage on a success. At 11th level, the damage of your breath increases to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. When you have no uses available, you can spend 2 key points to use this feature again. Early game, Breath of the Dragon is great. Not only do you get a nice AoE that's flexible when wizards would only get something such as Ice Knife at this level, but the damage also scales with you, dealing anywhere from 4 to 13 damage to each enemy per use. Combine that with the ability that at level 5 you can do this twice a turn and still use your bonus action with Flurry of Blows. This makes you actually one of the highest damage dealing subclasses at level 5 out there. To put this another way, a wizard casting Fireball on 3 enemies will do about 48 points of damage on average. You, on the other hand, will do about 45 points of damage to those 3 enemies as well at level 5. This is insane. All in all, this means that early game, the Way of the Ascendant Dragon becomes one of the best subclasses out there for doing large AoE amounts of damage to a swath of enemies. But considering the average campaign ends at level 8, this will still be relevant for most players all the way through their campaign. Once you graduate from your level 3 abilities, you get Wings Unfurled, which allows you to, at 6th level, when you use your Step of the Wind, you can unfurl spectral draconic wings from your back that vanish at the end of your turn. While the wings exist, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Flying is never bad, and this is no different. While expensive of a cost for 1 key point to fly for 6 seconds, at level 5 a monk has about 45 feet of movement speed. This means that for 1 key point, you can fly for about 130 feet. This gets you up to 13-story buildings, flying across cliffs, and even getting to enemies that are flying when you are a melee class, making this a nice boon for those who like to stay within 5 feet of their enemies. Combine this with stunning strikes on flying enemies, and your DM's going to really hate your monk more than DMs already hate monks. After this, however, the class gets a little weaker with Aspect of the Wyrm, which allows you to, when you reach 11th level, the power of your Draconic Key now radiates from you, protecting your allies from harm and punishing any who rise arms against them. As a bonus action, you can create an aura of Draconic power that radiates 10 feet from you for 1 minute. Choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage, and for the duration, you gain one of the following effects. Frightful Presence. When you create this aura and as a bonus action on your turns, you choose a creature within 10 feet radius aura to make a wisdom saving throw against their key save or become frightened of you for a minute. They can repeat the save at the end of their turn. Or Resistance. You and your allies within your aura gain resistance to the chosen damage type of acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Once you use this bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest unless you expend 3 key points to use it again. A resistance is great, but what this is reading as a bonus action, give yourself resistance to an element for 1 minute, which at this point is not going to be very good at that level. Usually you're looking for something that's a permanent resistance or just a better ability in general. While the 10-foot radius might come in handy for protecting you and your allies, monks are designed to fight in 1v1 situations. So usually they're going to be a little bit further away than the other melee fighters, making that part more or less irrelevant. As for Frightening Presence, 112 of the 445 monsters in D&D are immune to Frightened. As a result, that's 25% of monsters this ability has no effect on. Combine this with the fact that a monster at this level has about a 51% chance to save from Frightened, then you're usually just wasting this ability with your bonus action. The final ability you get is Ascendant Aspect. Ascendant Aspect states at 17th level, your Draconic Key reaches its peak. You gain the following benefits. Augmented Breath. When you use Breath of the Dragon, you can spend a key point to alter its shape and power. It becomes either a 60-foot cone or a 90-foot line and takes damage equal to 4 rolls of your martial arts die on a failed save or half on a success. Blind Sight. You gain Blind Sight out to 10 feet. Within that range, you can effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover, even if you're blinded or in darkness. Moreover, you can see an invisible creature within that range unless the creature successfully hides from you. And Explosive Fury. When you activate your Aspect of the Wyrm, Draconic Fury explodes from you. Choose any number of creatures you can see within your aura. Those creatures make a dexterity saving throw against your key save or take 3d10 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage, your choice. If they pass the save, they take no damage. Unfortunately, the hits just keep on coming for this class. Ascendant Aspect does what it is designed to do, which is enhancing Way of the Ascendant Dragon's previous abilities. It makes its level 3 ability now deal more damage and reach further. It gives them Blind Sight so they can now see invisible creatures, and they also get an additional way to deal damage using their level 11th ability. The problem is, they do them all poorly. Ascendant Aspect does its best at enhancing the level 3 ability by having it deal an extra 5 damage to each creature on average, while also making it to where you can probably hit maybe 1 or 2 more enemies. Meanwhile, this form of Blind Sight is a little bit weaker than the original Blind Sight, as now invisible creatures have a chance to pass as long as they pass against your passive perception. Moreover, combine this with 10 feet, it's just not going to be very useful in a lot of situations. Finally, we have Explosive Fury, and now this originally looks really good. A monster at this level only has a 34% chance to beat your key save DC. But when you combine the fact that this will deal 11 points of damage with your bonus action to a creature, and your bonus action with Flurry of Blows can do consistently 21 points of damage, you're most likely just going to choose doing Flurry of Blows. Everything considered, that's not that great, especially when you consider the fact that you're level 17. Once looking at all the abilities, Way of the Ascendant Dragon is okay at best for most players. Its abilities are a little bit all over the place, with utility being given by flying, persuasion checks giving an advantage for roleplay playstyles, and then a few other combat synergies for fighting multiple enemies instead of 1v1, which the monk is designed for. Combine this with the incredibly weak late level abilities, and this class does not look great for most players. That said, thematically, this class is on point. Having a dragon background of a monk trained by Bahamut is great for lore, flavor, and creativity aspects that a roleplay playstyle will love to have. Not only that, when you consider that most campaigns end by level 8, and the fact that Way of the Ascendant Dragon gets most of their good abilities by level 6, Usually, you're not going to be put off by these late game abilities unless your campaign goes beyond level 8. As a result, this is a great choice for players who want to look for maybe a combat playstyle of a monk who is looking to fight multiple people at once, but it's not really good after level 8, so at that point you should look into multi-class options. Speaking of multi-class options, here are some suggestions I recommend for you, which is going to go over race, feats, and multi-class options that a Way of the Ascendant Dragon would like to have. For race, I recommend a Kobold from a roleplay perspective, as Kobold's Draconic Fury on enemies is both flavorful and funny to imagine. For utilizing the AoE combat synergies of the class, a Goblin is great for disengaging as a bonus action, while for a utility aspect, a Dragon Mark of Healing Halfling is great for healing the party, re-rolling ones, and still being on point for flavor. Ironically, the 3 recommended races are all tiny for a subclass around dragons. As for multi-class, both utility and roleplay playstyles will love being a Tempest Cleric to Bahamut. Not only does the roleplay synergies work together, but the class also allows you to do max damage with your Breath of the Dragon. As for a combat playstyle, a Hunter Ranger subclass is a great choice as Hordebreaker allows you to make more attacks against a large swath of enemies, which is what your class tries to do. Then finally, for feats, a Draconic Mark is incredibly on flavor for the subclass and is always a good choice for Draconic characters. Mobile is a great one, both for combat and utility, as it allows you to maximize Breath of the Dragon and Wings Unfurled. But the best utility feat for a monk is going to be Crusher. Not only does it allow you to manipulate enemy positioning, it also gives your entire party advantage on attacks against them occasionally, making this great for supporting the party. In conclusion, the Way of the Ascendant Dragon is a good choice for those liking the roleplay or AoE aspects of the subclass. Due to its abilities, I would recommend this more for someone of a roleplay playstyle who build their characters off of lore and characterization over, say, combat synergies or utility support, as after level 6 this really begins to go downhill. That said, I am curious to hear what your all's thoughts are down below. Let me know what you all think. Do you agree that after level 6 this class really starts to go downhill? Or is there something maybe I'm missing? As always, like and subscribe if you are enjoying my content, or you can support me by buying Fizban Treasury of Dragons, linked down below, as this helps keep the lights on and the cameras rolling. I hope you have a beautiful day, and may all your rolls be natural.